Hey everyone, it's Miss Esposito. You should have your notes packet that was handed out in the last couple of days. And it should say graphing in quadrant 1 on the first page. But the first thing I want you all to do is to go ahead and number these pages with me so that when we tell you what page to turn to take notes, you have your pages numbered. So you'll want to start with the first page and just put a number 1 and then flip it over and put a number 2 on the bottom of the back of that page. Okay, and then the next page will be number 3. And then you'll flip it over and put a number 4. And the next one will be 5. And on the next one, we'll put a 6. And you guys will continue that. You can go ahead and pause the video so that you can finish numbering your pages. So that'll help later. Okay, so we're going to start with page 1. And we're actually going to skip this top part and go straight down here to the ordered pairs section. So write this with me. An ordered pair describes an exact location on the coordinate plane. The x-coordinate is the first number in an ordered pair and indicates movement parallel to the x-axis. And we'll talk about what these things mean in just a second. The y-coordinate is the second number in an ordered pair and indicates movement parallel to the y-axis or vertically. When graphing ordered pairs, you always begin at the origin. And the origin is the point 0, 0. And again, don't be too worried. We are going to go over this a little bit more here in a second. All right, so now we're going to skip this bottom part and we're going to flip to page 2 of your notes. And we're going to get a little bit of practice with figuring out where shapes are on a coordinate plane. So we have this coordinate plane here and we have some shapes and we need to write the ordered pair for where each shape is. So the first one is a circle. The circle is right here, as you can see. And remember, our ordered pair says first we put the horizontal number and then we put the vertical number, okay? So first is going to be the x-axis, the x-coordinate, and then next is going to be the y, okay? We'll get more practice with this soon. So for the circle, we have to decide where it falls on my horizontal axis or the x-axis. And horizontally, the circle falls at 2. So that's the first number in my ordered pair. That's the horizontal number. And then I have to put where it falls on my vertical axis. The vertical axis, it's going to fall at 8. Okay, so the ordered pair for the circle is 2, 8. Another thing you could do up here to help yourself is write horizontal first, vertical second. Horizontal first, vertical second. All right, so now let's look at the triangle. The triangle for the horizontal axis, if we follow that down, we end up at 16. So that's the first number. And then we follow the triangle over to the vertical axis, and that takes us to 12. So the ordered pair for the triangle is 16, 12. Now let's look at the square. The square on the horizontal axis is at 18. So that's the first number we put. On the vertical axis, our square is at 0. As you can see over here, this is 0. So the ordered pair for the square is at 18, 0. The hexagon is at the point 10 on my horizontal axis. So we're going to write 10 first. And on the vertical axis, it's at the point 6. So the ordered pair is 10, 6. The pentagon for the horizontal axis, if we follow it all the way down, we end up at 6. And horizontally, or vertically, I'm sorry, if we follow it vertically, we end up at 18 on the vertical axis. So it's 6, 18. I'll let you guys try the next two. The trapezoid is this shape over here, and the rhombus is this one here. Okay? Trapezoid, rhombus. You guys do this on your Edpuzzle, and then we'll come back and check it. Okay, for the trapezoid, we should have had, for the horizontal component, we should have had 20. And vertically, we would be at 8. So you should have had the 28 as your ordered pair. For the rhombus, horizontally, we are at 0. And vertically, we are up at 14. We are going to skip this section. And one of the ways that I remember that first you have to do horizontal and then you have to go vertical is that first you have to go in the building. This is how I always learned it. And then you can go up or down on the elevator. So before you can go up or down, you first have to go in the building. That's an easy way that I remember that horizontal is the first number in an ordered pair and vertical is the second number in an ordered pair. We can talk about other ways to remember that if you have another way in class. Okay, so next we are going to turn to page 4 in your notes. It should look like this. It says student handout 2 at the top. And we're actually going to skip the top section and we're going to label a coordinate plane. The coordinate plane extends the two number lines to include integers. So we are actually going to extend our coordinate plane to include negative numbers now. And you'll see here that we have two axes. The first axis is the x-axis, and that's the horizontal axis. This horizontal line is what we call the x-axis. And then the vertical line is called the y-axis. So we have an x-axis and a y-axis. I talked about the origin earlier. The origin is this point right in the middle. This is called the origin. And it's the point 0, 0. That's the point where x equals 0 and y equals 0. It's the point 0, 0. And again, remember, when we talk about ordered pairs, we first put the x and then we put the y. Okay, another way to remember that is horizontal and then vertical. Horizontal first and then vertical. So we need to label these quadrants. And we label quadrants with Roman numerals. The first quadrant is the one that's all positives. So you can see in this quadrant that's up here at the top right, we have all positive x's and all positive y's. So any number that's up here in this first quadrant is going to be positive x and a positive y. And again, we use Roman numerals to label quadrants. And the x coordinate is going to be positive and the y coordinate is going to be positive. So this is quadrant 1. The next quadrant is what we call quadrant 2, and we go counterclockwise. This is all across the world. We label quadrants using Roman numerals. So quadrant 2 has a negative x, but a positive y. So any number that's in quadrant 2 has a negative x and a positive y. The next quadrant is quadrant 3. 1, 2, 3. That's the Roman numeral for 3. And in quadrant 3, the x's and the y's are both negative. You can see any point over here is going to have a negative x and a negative y coordinate. And lastly, we have quadrant 4. Quadrant 4 has a negative y, but the x's are positive. So you can see the x coordinate is positive, while the y coordinate is negative in any of the numbers in quadrant 4. All right, let's do some practice with this. I just turned to page 5, and at the top we have 2 problems. We're going to do these 2 problems. I'm just going to do the first couple of each with you, and then I want you guys to do the rest of this on your paper, and we're going to check it in class. Okay, so for number 1, it says determine the ordered pair for each point in the table. So point A, I'm going to go find where point A is. And first I need to figure out where it is on my x-axis. And the x-axis, again, is the horizontal axis. That's the first number I put. So A would be at -3 on the x-axis. And then I need to look at my vertical axis and figure out where A is. And if I stop at +3, that's where my A is. Oops, you couldn't see that. My A is at +3 on the y-axis. Let's do B, and then I'm going to have you guys do the rest of number 1 on your paper. For B, we look again where it falls on the x-axis, okay? And so if I look at B and I go to the x-axis, it's going to be exactly at 3.5. Oops, it's up here, 3.5 or 3.5. Either one would work. And then I have to figure out where B is on the y-axis. And so I look at my y-axis, which is the vertical one, and I go over to B, and I see that it's at -3. Remember, all the numbers on the bottom at the y of the y-axis are negative. All right, let's do I and J. And then again, I want you guys to plot these on your paper and bring it to class. So I says 2.5, -3. Again, we start at the origin. We always start at the origin to plot points. And the first number is horizontal. The first number is horizontal. So I'm going to go to 2.5 horizontally. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then a half. Then I have to move the vertical distance before I put my point. So I don't put my point right there. I also have to go -3 on the y-axis. So I go down to -3 on my y-axis, and that's where I put my point for I. For J, again, I start at the origin, and I go to -2 on the x-axis, which is going to be right here. And then I have to figure out where 4.5 is on my y-axis. So I stay at -2 and I move up and down to find 4.5. And so that's going to be right here. And that's the point J. Okay, do this on your paper and bring it to class so that we can check it. See you guys soon.